Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here is Matt Hatfield.
And we'll welcome you back to 757 Sports Talk. Like, share, and subscribe to CoVA Sports TV and interact with us. We have a special guest with us. He is the head football coach of the Christopher Newport University Captains, undefeated, 7th ranked in the country as they win it by a count of 27-7 on Friday night over the College of New Jersey at Landstown Stadium. 10-0 season, and the win streak, I believe, is 15 and counting now for Paul Crowley. He's an alum of Landstown High in Virginia Beach out of the 757. Coach, congratulations on the great year for the Captains. You guys are rolling into the NCAA Division III tourney. You got to be pumped about your squad and what you're doing.
Yeah, it's been a really special year for our guys. This is, my 4th year taking over as head coach, so it's our first time with the full team of our recruiting classes, and it's chock full of kids from the 757, and they've just done a phenomenal job and been able to get us to this 10-0 start, which is the first time we've done it in school history, and like you said, 15-game winning streak. It's a special group of kids.
That's awesome. And then we mentioned earlier, the NCAA website will have the Division III brackets, the 40-team field coming up on Sunday at 5 o'clock. You can take us through more of the particulars about that in a moment. But we've had you on in the past on our radio side of things. Now we're on the podcasting here with YouTube and on the television side. So fill the audience that are unfamiliar with your background. We mentioned you are from the 757 and Landstown High. Your days there playing for a highly regarded coach in Chris Beatty, who's now in the NFL, and then taking us into your journey as a coach, the assistant days and all your travels.
Yeah, I was really, really fortunate at Landstown to play for Coach Beatty and Coach Jackson prior to that. But, Coach Beatty's really the one that made me want to get into this. I was just super impressed with how smart he was. And, he wasn't a yeller or a screamer, and I knew that couldn't be me as a head coach. So that's really where I got the bug. I was fortunate to play on those really good Landstown teams in the mid-2000s. Doesn't seem too long ago, but, it's going on 20 years now. I was a good player. I was all-state, but I was looking for the right fit. And, some of the Division I stuff was all walk-ons, Division IIs and Division IIIs, and really didn't know a lot about Christopher Newport, but came up and really was impressed with the winning culture and the game day atmosphere, and decided to have a playing career there, and got to have a good one, play in the playoffs, do some good things, and coached my first 9 or 10 years under Coach Couchner. Eventually became the offensive coordinator, and then when he retired, they brought in a different head coach. I went up to William & Mary and was fortunate to learn under Jimmy Laycock for 2 years there. Obviously legendary, one of the winningest coaches in college football history, and just make some great connections. And then, this is going on year 4 now, back at the alma mater, back in the 757 as a head coach.
That's fantastic. Some excellent mentors when you mentioned Coach Jackson and Coach Beatty and Coach Jimmy Laycock, who rightfully so got that well-deserved spot in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame a couple years back. I wanted to go back to your playing days. You were an all-district, all-region, all-state center. Is that right?
Yep, senior year, yeah.
Okay.
No, face doesn't show it anymore, but yeah.
Well, but you know what? I think of linemen a lot of times. They're great interviews for us, and I always equate you all as linemen, because you're still a lineman at heart, to like catchers in baseball. They end up being really good coaches or managers in baseball, and I see that with linemen. But we'll dive into that in a moment. I want to know, though, you played with Percy Harvin. You played with Damon McDaniel, the late Devion Simmons, and those Landstown teams that are regarded as some of the best in Virginia high school league history. When you played with those guys, did you ever sense how special it was? And now that you've been, 20 years plus here removed from it, what are your fondest memories from that time?
Just the runs with the guys. I think you never know what you're fully capable of until you actually accomplish it. When Coach Beatty came in, we knew we had a talented team with all those guys you mentioned, and Ryan Goings and all those different guys, TJ Mitchell, Jeremy Gilchrist. But a beach team had never really won a state championship. So to even make it that first year and feel like we had a chance, and then Westfield got after us, that was my junior year. And to be able to come back after losing guys and win a state championship, it just really hadn't been done before. So, you had the vaunted Chesapeake teams, the Western Branches, the Deep Creeks we knew we'd have to get through. Then, those Northern Virginia teams were rolling at the time. So to be able to bring one back to the 757 in Division VI back then was pretty cool. And yeah, I don't think you really appreciate how talented some of those guys were. I remember getting to college and we had some talented guys at CNU, some borderline NFL guys. And I was kind of like, these guys aren't that fast, because I had recollections of Percy and Damon. So I got kind of spoiled there a little bit.
Yeah, and it makes me feel old as dirt now that Damon McDaniel's son, Damon McDaniel Jr., is balling out for the Maury Commodores, trying to win a 3rd straight state title before he heads off to college at the next level, and it makes me just feel old to see all these guys that now you all covered. Here they are coaching their sons coming up, and Damon going to NC Central, the younger one. But as you got to college here, and then you go through this whole coaching process, what made you want to be a head coach? I mean, what kind of burned the fires for you? Now, seeing you here, you're now a veteran at this thing, and you've got one of the best programs in the entire nation. What's kind of been the keys or secret to your success, if you can explain to us?
I would say just staying grounded in the job I was in, but always having aspirations to going higher. When I first got in, I just wanted to be the best, tight ends coach I could be. And I was really fortunate to move around and coach receivers and coach running backs and tight ends. And since then, I've done O-line and quarterback. So as a young coach, I was really able to see different position groups and see it from a holistic perspective. So, I feel comfortable coaching any of those positions. And I really, really think that's helped me as a head coach. Just being able to understand the game from a big picture perspective. But I'd say just keep your feet in the ground, at the space where you are. A lot of young coaches are always looking for the next move. But I always just tried to focus on being the best coach I could be. And to be perfectly honest, becoming a head coach was eventually the goal, but, I didn't know it would happen this fast or anything like that. But, I just felt like I prepared for, if the opportunity presented itself, I'd have an idea of what I wanted to do.
We're chatting with Paul Crowley. He's the head football coach of the Christopher Newport University Captains, a perfect 10-0 as they march onto the 40-team bracket that will be released this weekend in the NCAA Division III playoffs, as they were victorious on Friday night by a count of 27-7 over the College of New Jersey. Coach Crowley is our guest here on 757 Sports Talk. Like, share, and subscribe to CoVA Sports TV. And you've got lots of Commonwealth flavors we touched on. We'll dive into that here with your roster here and also the recruiting pieces attached to it here. Connor Berry, the quarterback out of Madison High School, 18 of 26 for 201 yards and 2 touchdowns to go with a rushing score for you. And then the final score of the game, a guy not from Nova but from the 757, and Gunnar White from Tallwood High in Virginia Beach. Tell me about those two young men and other key contributors, whether they're from VA, the 757, or anywhere.
Yeah, we only got 2 guys on our roster that aren't from Virginia. We've made a concerted effort to recruit the state of Virginia. Obviously, I grew up on that football, so we felt like if we just recruited the whole state as well as you could possibly recruit it, we could, field a nationally competitive team. Just mentioning some of those guys, Gunnar White was one of our first recruits to come on board, and everyone knew how great a player he was at Tallwood. We were fortunate to get him, and the touchdown he scored last night was his 50th career touchdown for CNU now in 4 seasons. And, that's the sell in recruiting is, you can chase the D1 and go somewhere where maybe they want you, maybe they really don't want you. They're just taking you as a walk-on. You can come somewhere where, hey, you can cement your name and be in the Hall of Fame and break all kinds of records. And that was the sell to Gunnar. And, I think he'd tell you it was a really, really great decision for him. Similar, we had a kid, Colin Hart from Stonebridge up in Nova. He's been a 4-year starter. He just broke our career catches record last night. And then, Connor Barrett's been special for us this year. On the season, he's pretty much led the country in pass efficiency at any level all the way through. 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions passing, and then another 9 rushing. So obviously that's pretty special stuff he's doing. And we've been fortunate to take a lot of these quarterbacks from Virginia high schools that have played in those big games. He was at James Madison playing against Oscar Smith. And, our quarterback before that, Matt Dezersky, was at South County playing against Oscar Smith in state championship. So when you get those kind of guys that are played in those kind of games before, they're ready for the challenge in college.
No, it definitely matters. And I hear that from all the successful coaches, whatever sport it is, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, softball, you name it, field hockey, that's the common thread, getting players from winning programs that have the character, have that DNA in them and the work ethic. And for you, I'm curious too, as you went from the assistant coaching ranks to the head coach, and we had COVID and now the changes that have happened above you at the higher levels with Division I and NIL, the transfer portal. Have you had to make some different adjustments, adapting the tweaks? And how have you all, as a program at CNU, been affected by those things? Is it still the core principles and values remain the same, and you want to find good football players that come from winning backgrounds and have the character that doesn't change? How do you view it? Yeah,
I think all that's true. And then it's always been important, but I think even more so, find kids that really, really love playing football. There's a lot of kids that like the recruiting process, but, are they going to be willing to put the work in? Are they going to go through the tough times that are going to happen as part of being a college football player? We're fortunate that, the transfer portal and all that hasn't affected us too much. We got a really nice campus and a great education. So for our guys to leave that, it would be really hard. But, it's really been the same model of just recruit Virginia kids. And, I still recruit, parts of Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and all of Chesapeake. And reason being is I know the importance of, football in the 757 is still where we want to build the bulk of our roster. So, I'd imagine I'm one of the only head coaches that still has a recruiting area, but that's purposeful.
For sure. Now take me through in the last couple minutes here with you, we think for the time, your opinion of the sport from your playing days when you were in college and high school to now. How's the game changed, if at all, and especially for your level at CNU? What's different about the sport and the teams you see? I know you're in a different conference than years ago. You can kind of explain that and elaborate that to folks that are unfamiliar with it, but what's different about it now from say 10, 15, 20 years ago in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, the portal's changed everything, right? To be, perfectly honest, it would make me less want to coach at the Division I level at times, where you're having so much attrition, different roster every year. You can't really grow and develop kids and build relationships over the course of 4 years. And, that just leads to a lot of parity where it's hard to build a successful winner because you got a new group of kids every year. So I don't envy those guys at that level by any means. And for us, it just means we're getting really, really good football players that slip to the Division III level because, they're not getting taken out of high school. So, I challenge you to look at our roster and look at some of their high school resumes. We got guys, that in other eras might be playing at higher levels. And, we play against guys that get NFL looks. It's a really highly competitive level of football.
For sure. And there's so many players from all over the Commonwealth. You mentioned only two guys not from Virginia on your roster. So whether it's the Connor Berries or the Colin Harts, the Josh Powell from Maury High School, Gunnar White from Tallwood, so many different impact performers. What's next for you? Because you're 10-0, unbeaten regular season. You've checked off one thing on the goals list, but you're not done. And I know there's still more in front of you as you chase an ultimate championship, a national one. Give me kind of how things go with the bracket and how it will play out for the tourney and what's next, because a lot of people are not all that up to speed with how it works for you all at D3.
Yeah, and it's a little bit uncharted territory for us too. This is only the second year they added 8 more teams, so it's a 40-team field, and just over half the teams get byes in the first week. So we'll definitely get that first round bye. Be playing next Saturday, not this coming one, so 2 weeks from today. And we'll get a home game, which we haven't had a home game in the playoffs since 2006, back when I was a sophomore in college. So we'll probably play the winner of a play-in game, so not know until the week of exactly who we're going to play. But, we'll be excited to be playing at home. Thanksgiving, there's nothing more our kids could ask for than, playing in that kind of weather, playing in those kind of scenarios. So I'm excited for our guys.
That's so cool. And if people haven't been over to your campus and facility, they're missing out. It's just gorgeous over there at CNU. Last time you played, you're right, 2006 at home in the NCAA action. Fell to Washington, Jefferson, 27-23, looking for a different outcome this time. I'll let you go on this one, and I appreciate your time so much and wish you and the squad all the best here moving forward here into the postseason. But this team, has it, in your eyes, exceeded the expectations that you had going in? Because I know you probably felt it was pretty good. And where have you been better? And what will it take now, being so effective here, undefeated, to take that next step? What's it going to require to do the unthinkable and win a championship?
Yeah, I told our kids last night, true serum, if would I have guessed 10-0 to start the year? Probably not. But, I think we all just approach it one game at a time. And, once you win 3, then you win 4, then you win 5, and you just try to keep it going. So yeah, I'd say we've, exceeded my expectations a little bit. We've been really, really good on offense, and Connor Berry's really led that. We're averaging 47 a game. When you're scoring that many points a game, you have a chance to be successful. Then a really opportunistic, defense. We're one of the top teams in the country in turnover margin too. They've done a great job there. So you put those two things together, we've been able to win, some close games against top 25 teams, 2 of those this year. So that's what's put us in this position, and we just got to be resilient because, now every one of these games is going to be a close one. We're going to have to win in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
Fantastic. Well, go do me a favor and say hello to my buddy, the real Coach K, as I call him, Coach John Krakorn. I always joke when we have him on that it's not Mike Krzyzewski, it's him. And he got himself a natty a couple years back, and the men's and women's basketball programs have been doing great things. You've had so many sports there, softball, now football in the limelight here with an undefeated season, and you're not done yet on the pursuit of a national championship. He's doing a fantastic job. Paul Crowley, the head man over there, a Landstown High alum out of Virginia Beach. Thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend, and I look forward to chatting with you soon, hopefully after a natty.
Thanks, Matt. Always great talking with you.
You got it. That's Paul Crowley, our guest here on 757 Sports Talk. Stick around. We got more coming your way. You're watching CoVA Sports TV. Now, from those that help make it possible, stay tuned.
What is more? Is it more reps?